Do the trashy pulp novels of the world have anything to offer? Are bestsellers all they're cracked up to be? Here at Terrible Book Club, we explore whether you really can judge a book by its cover, or its ridiculous synopsis. You ever passed a book and thought, ugh, who's reading this? We probably are.
Chris, every time I want to start, I just think about butt pussies and I can't.
Congratulations, that's the new cold open to this episode. Welcome to episode 95 of the Terrible Book Club.
I'm Paris, and this is Chris.
Hi. Coming at you hot today.
This time we read Late Bloomer by Morgan Hawes at the request of our patron D. This was self-published in 2019 with cover art by Leimin Chong. I have no idea if I'm saying that person's name right. Sorry, you did a pretty good job with the cover art. If this is your first time listening to this show, what we do here at the Terrible Book Club is we read books that we assume will be bad based on their cover, title, summary, or some combination of the three. But sometimes, like today, we read a book that our patrons have chosen for us to read. In general, though, we do the opposite of what most people do when they are in a bookstore or while they're browsing Amazon electronically. Usually this experiment results in a disappointing read, but once in a while we end up liking the book. Content warnings for today,
You got a little up front, so...
Yeah, you got a little up front there. Sorry about that. Our usual barnyard language plus graphic and unusual sexual content. Specifically, we're talking about alternate human biology here, so... Just a warning, you know, there's gonna be butts that are also pussies, and
there's also dog dicks.
Yeah, there's dog dicks, and there's like scenting and some kind of I want to say wolf-like, except that's not really what wolves do. It's sort of like what the public consciousness thinks that wolves do with their socialization. So it's kind of like this weird. Wolf mythos stuff, this non-factual but popular ideas about how wolves interact, and that's been grafted onto people. So
it's known as the alpha, beta, omega, or I think just omegaverse or something like that.
Yes, correct.
This is a whole fandom? I don't know if that's the correct term in all it. Kinkdom?
Yeah, I guess. So, all right, I'm gonna read the summary that's like the printed back of the book summary first. Late Bloomer is a non-shifter, extremely slow burn, MMABO standalone romance novel that features explicit consent in every sex scene, lots of chemistry, mild BDSM themes, no M-preg, and a HEA. Now, if you didn't understand a goddamn fucking thing there... That's how I felt at the start of this.
Would you like me to clarify any of that, Paris?
No, let's just
okay.
leave everyone in the same suspense we were before we started reading this.
Sure.
All right. Sorry, I just had to get... So that's the first statement, and it is in bold in the actual summary on the back.
Gotta get the what you're coming here for out of the way first.
Honestly, I respect that.
Yep.
After a rough start, Malcolm Roy III has cleaned up his act, gotten mostly sober, and now stands to inherit his family's wealth and his father's business. But Malcolm has a secret. He's spent the last 10 years on dangerous suppressants. After collapsing at work and on his doctor's orders, Malcolm has cut them out completely. Now he has to return to the office, presenting as himself for the first time ever. As an Omega! Vincent Hoffman has a good life. He's got a home. He's got his cats. He likes his job, even though his boss is the annoying, smarmy son of the CEO. Vincent couldn't ask for anything more. He might have done once upon a time, or 18 months ago, but who's counting? But his ex-fiancée put an end to those dreams when she walked out of his life. For now, Vincent is content. But after a disaster at the office, his comfortable life is threatened when Malcolm discovers his secret. Despite how he's presented himself all these years, Vincent isn't a harmless beta. He's an alpha. Now, Malcolm's biological clock is ticking down towards his first heat. He's rich, he's connected, and he's gorgeous. An ambitious alpha could take a lot from a man like Malcolm, and there'd be nothing he could do about it. He needs to make a choice, and fast. He needs to find an alpha he can trust. Someone like... And I guess you're supposed to assume that's Vincent. That's where it ends. So... Oh, God. Yeah, so I guess we can get back into that disclaimer right at the beginning of the summary. So, non-shifter means that there's no shape-shifting. So people don't, there's no werewolves or were-cats or were-elk or were-penguins, whatever people are jerking off to these days. I took a sip of water.
You must be spit at the thought of a were-elk.
Have you not seen...
being a very specific, sexual fetish.
Oh, Chris, have you not seen Caribou's Gift?
Oh.
Because I remember when we read that, was it episode 6? One of the lost episodes we read, what the fuck was it? It was werewolves and were-cats or were-lions. When an alpha purrs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we read that years ago. And I remember after that, I kept getting all these recommendations, and one of them was a wereaboo, a were-caribou. I mean, that's some up north shit,
A wereaboo is what someone that is super into anime, but only during full moon. Every time the moon turns around, I lock myself in my basement and I rewatch Cowboy Bebop.
When the moon hits your eye like a big anime eye, that's a weeaboo. Oh my God. Chris. Oh, this episode. All right. So non-shifter. So there's no one's transforming.
They already have the dog dicks.
Correct. Extremely slow burn. Yeah, you can say that again. This was fucking 444 pages. Good God.
Thanks, D.
Ugh. MM, that's male. So, obvious. Gay men. ABO, that's the alpha, beta, omega. Standalone romance novel, that just means there's no bigger world you have to know. You don't need to read a book before or after. It's just a one-off, nice one jerk and you're done, or 444 jerks, I guess.
Wow, one per page.
Wait, no, man.
Paris, does that mean someone's jacking off to the scene where they talk in a McDonald's parking lot?
Well, that was a gay man and a straight woman talking in a McDonald's parking lot. I don't know. The way they were describing the ice cream in that scene could have got some people going.
My extremely specific fetish of McDonald's parking lot.
Just McDonald's parking lot ice cream melts.
Yeah.
Come here for the McDonald's verse porn. Oh no, that's gotta be a thing. God, I hate being alive.
It's the McD/BK universe.
Chris, I hate existence.
Yeah, it's really bad now that I'm thinking about it.
Book just reminds me of how much I hate existence sometimes.
I really love the places the human mind can go a lot of times, and other times I'm like, I don't know about that, actually.
Yeah, sometimes I'm like, maybe we shouldn't be here. Maybe, we should go. Explicit consent in every sex scene. I don't know.
Yay.
Yeah,
cool.
I will say this is like a woo consent. This was a very consensual book. I don't know that I would say explicit consent in every single scene, but it's clearly consensual. Maybe nobody was like, "Can I fuck you?" and they were like, "Yes, you may fuck me." It was not like that, but it's very clear. No one is being convinced. This isn't a weird bodice ripper kind of a thing. That was one aspect that was great. Lots of chemistry. I don't know. That's kind of a... I would
agree there. I mean, it's very... Page to page, it's very deep into the emotional state of everyone in here. Mm-hmm. That's what you're really reading about, with a couple of weird wolfy sex scenes, I guess.
Yeah. Mild BDSM themes. Yeah, there's a scene where like someone gets tied up with ties and is told they're a bad boy or something at the end. No M-preg, so that means there's no male pregnancy, except there is, so I don't know why it says that.
Paris, I don't think impreg specifically means male pregnancy. I think that just means any impregnation in general.
Really?
From my knowledge of like fetishy books or something like that, I'm pretty sure that means just regular old.
Urban Dictionary says mpreg is short for male pregnancy and is most often used in fan fiction to describe the surprising occurrence of pregnant males.
I am wrong.
Okay,
take that back.
So like, it says there's no male pregnancy, but there's a character that's a male who's pregnant. So maybe they just mean that the main character doesn't get impregnated? I don't know.
Yeah, it's not a focal point of what's going on. There's just tangential characters that are pregnant males.
Yeah. And an HEA, which is a happily ever after.
Explicitly stated that things are going to work out right at the top over here. So you're like, left in no suspense whatsoever.
I mean, and that was... Anyway... We've kind of gone off the rails here, but that's what you're in for today. So our characters and setting. I honestly couldn't figure out what fucking city this was supposed to be. It was supposed to be like a major
generic urban.
Metropolitan city, like maybe 20
There's
years
a lot of
in the
like
future.
Generic, setting stuff here.
Yeah, and I wanted to say it was maybe 20 years in the future, but then based on some of the things mentioned and the age of the characters, maybe it's supposed to be now, just with better technology? I don't know.
I don't think you're supposed to think too much about all of that stuff.
So you got Vincent, Malcolm, Lacey, who is Vincent's ex-girlfriend, or ex-fiancé. Laurent, which is a guy that Malcolm eventually dates and gets engaged to. Alondra, Malcolm's assistant, Dominic, Vincent's assistant, and then Vincent's mom, an extended friend group. There's like little friend. There's Ruby, the bartender, and all these minor friends. We're not really going to talk about any of them, so whatever. All right, here is my summary of kind of the basic plot points, how the story folds out, and then we can talk about how we felt about it. So Malcolm is this rich playboy. He's the president of his dad's fancy pharmaceutical or medical tech company of some kind. They never gets too specific about what it is. He has recently recovered from a coke addiction. Vincent is Malcolm's vice president, who is trying to quit smoking. They both kind of had a thing for each other for a while, but neither has ever broached the subject. They have also both been masking who they truly are, either with topical or oral suppressants. So Malcolm has been taking oral suppressants to suppress the biological expression of his omega genetics. God saying that sounds like I'm in the fucking Third Reich over here. Vincent is suppressing his smell with topical suppressants like shampoos and colognes and lotions and things like that, so no one can smell that he is an alpha. Vincent isn't totally over his childhood sweetheart ex, Lacey, from about a year and a half ago, and is kind of a mess about it. Malcolm asks Vincent to preside over his heat, which is basically just make sure Vincent doesn't die of dehydration during the heat, and also Vincent's supposed to fuck him a whole lot. This happens, and they develop feelings for one another that both downplay and try to ignore. Malcolm then starts dating Laurent, while Vincent pines over Lacey and also sort of over Malcolm. Malcolm asks Vincent to accompany him to his ex's engagement party so he can pretend to have a partner and therefore pretend to have moved on from Lacey. This goes a little too well, as Malcolm and Vincent end up having sex again and staying the night at Vincent's mom's house, weirdly where his ex's engagement party was held, at his mom's house. It's weird. Despite Malcolm cheating on Laurent with Vincent, Laurent convinces Malcolm to get engaged in a sham rich person marriage for social status. Vincent finds Laurent getting a blowjob in a restaurant bathroom from a waiter and threatens to tell Malcolm, but Laurent threatens him back with rich guy, I'll have your job stuff because his dad is on the board of their company. Laurent gets Vincent escorted from his own office after they almost fight in front of Malcolm, and then he gets investigated and placed on leave. Meanwhile, Vincent and Lacey almost fuck, but instead just kiss and are kind of just confused. Vincent convinces Malcolm to break up with Laurent. Malcolm then tries to convince Lacey to get back together with Vincent. Vincent realizes he's over Lacey and into Malcolm. Malcolm and Vincent are together by the end of the book, trying to figure out how their relationship is going to work, given they are president and vice president of the same company. The end.
And they lived HEA.
Yeah. So,
it's a romance novel.
Yeah, I hate those. I fucking hate romance novels.
Yeah, I gotta say, from the top of this, thoroughly bored the whole time because it's just not my scene, even without the whole wolf penis thing.
Dude, you want to know how boring this was? It's so boring. It took me so long to read that we are now almost behind schedule. That's how boring this book is.
It took me fucking 3 weeks to slog through this.
Me too.
And can I just say up top, I don't think it's a bad romance novel.
Yeah.
I don't think this is terrible.
Okay.
Quite sweet in some ways.
All right, here's my thing. So, I guess I'm just going to jump to the end of my notes.
Why not?
Where I can talk to things I didn't like and things I liked about it. So, is that fine with you? I think that's fine.
Totally fine.
All right, so let's start with things I liked about it. There were barely any technical errors. There were, spelling was good. Barely any missing words. There were maybe 3 or 4. No major issues. There was one phrase that was clumsily used twice within a few pages. It was the phrase, his body held memories, his mind couldn't, which stuck out to me. But, whatever. Pretty good. It was written like a human would write a book that had actually put work into it. Yeah.
So all you motherfuckers that have done this self-publishing thing and I didn't have time for editing, I don't have the money for an editor, fuck off. If
fuck you.
This person could write wolf penis sex stuff and have it come out nearly perfectly edited. The rest of you.
Yeah, I gotta say, this wolf fucking book puts y'all to shame. So
it does.
I don't know. It definitely is. It was well edited. I gotta say, my only issue with the editing was there was I didn't like how long it was. I know that this was supposed to be a slow burn. I just felt like 444 pages was a bit much for what this was. And there was specifically this one point where they are in Vincent's mom's house for the engagement party and then the sleepover and then breakfast for 74 pages.
Nearly a quarter of the book is this fucking engagement party.
I just couldn't handle it. I was like, I can't. Why are we still in this house? Why is the cookout still happening?
You're trapped in the cookout.
I felt trapped in a shitty family cookout and it hurt.
Imagine you're just sharing Vincent's pain because he has to watch Lacey pal around with her new husband-to-be, Red. You're trapped there with him, Paris.
I sure was.
If
only
only
trapped.
you had a wolf guy to fuck in the butt pussy.
Yeah.
To calm yourself down.
So, sorry, we were talking about things we liked. So, overall, technically, decently written, well edited. It made sense in terms of rising and falling action, having, situations happen that were realistic. For example, Malcolm and Vincent work together in this big, tall office building, and they get stuck in an elevator that breaks. And personally, I work somewhere where the elevators broke all the time and people would get stuck in them a lot. So to me, that was a thing that could happen in an office building,
How many wolf romances could bloom in your office building, Paris?
I don't know. But everything that happens didn't seem exaggerated. It didn't seem forced. It seemed very, it made sense. It was expected given the universe you were presented with.
Yeah,
there was logical consistency in the work, which I really appreciated.
Realistic human beings with wolf penises.
Yeah. We can save the wolf penises for later.
I know I really keep bringing that up, but it's really
it's hard to it's hard to see past that big knot. So is this the episode where I make Chris throw up on air? Find out.
I'm really trying not to yuck anyone's yum, man. If you're into this, that's fine. I think.
I think
That's
I don't
probably
know.
Fine.
Well, I think if you're if you're into like a weirdly shaped penis, that's fine. I think I have more problems with the hierarchy shit, which we'll talk about later.
Yeah, that's where I kind of start to blanch a little bit. But let's keep going with
the
good
things I liked. I really thought that the internal monologues, the descriptions of relationship-related feelings, even though the characters spoke to each other, it was all very realistic. Very, like, some of the things I could sympathize or empathize with, you know, like, oh, I felt that way before, or I've thought that,
totally.
You know, that was great. That's good writing.
There's one specific relationship, actually, Vincent and Lacey's, that I totally related to. That I felt was like, I've had these feelings before. This is totally thoughts that I've had and ways that I felt that feels like non-exaggerated or, you know, out of place or something like that. So if I had one way to sort of connect with this book, and I didn't have much, it was that relationship.
Yeah, although I didn't feel connected to a specific relationship like you did, I did feel like if you just focus on the romance between Malcolm and Vincent and then their kind of accessory conversations and feelings around other people, it's a good romance book, right? Like, it's not something I like, but I think the way it's written is so much better than so many other books we've read like this.
Oh, sure. Even with like romance subplots in books that we've otherwise liked and have been fine with. I mean, of course, that's the central point of this, but it does a really good job of that. Like, for me, like I said, it was the Lacey and Vincent relationship with their former lovers who still care for each other for the most part and don't really want to fuck up each other's lives anymore.
So continuing on other things I liked, I really liked, and also continuing on the kind of the theme of the writing being decent, I really liked some of the turns of phrases and descriptions of things. There weren't a ton, but there were some that were actually like kind of refreshing and not the same lame bullshit. You know, whenever they're discussing eye color, they don't do it too much. And when they talk about, I think, Malcolm looking at Vincent's eyes, he has blue eyes, and they describe them as the color of snow melt in spring. And to me, that's so much more descriptive than being like, I don't know, what's shit people always say about blue eyes, like the color, like they were like the
blue,
ocean blue, the sky. I don't know, snow melt in spring, like a puddle of melted water on a spring day. Like, to me, that's so much more evocative of the actual color of an interesting blue eye, you know?
You know why, Paris? Because it's not just the color, it's the mood of that day as well, which is so helpful.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm just going to read some other phrases I liked. This was just a line of dialogue that I really liked. You're a person. Of course you're worth more, you capitalist bitch.
Hooray!
I don't know. I just thought
kind
that was
of acknowledging that everyone, there is the other downside that we'll get to, is that everyone in this book is like, you know, super upper class, rich, highfalutin lifestyle. Everyone's in like 2,000 thread count beds and like these closets full of suits and everything, which like, ugh.
Let's see. Laurent reeked of good breeding, like someone who had been conceived in a cigar bar. To me, it's just really evocative of exactly the flavor the author is trying to get you to taste, right? And then these other two that are kind of related. He felt like an abandoned movie theater. Man, I've been there. I felt like a sticky floor with booze spilled on me. Like, that's a great way to describe feeling like shit. And then there's this other passage. The blue leached out from the sky outside, draining into the peach and red streaked horizon. It was the kind of sunset that would please sailors or make them take warning. Malcolm could never remember which. I don't know. I just think that, there were some moments of really good descriptive writing. So that was kind of the life raft I was holding on to, was like oh God, at least it's edited. Oh, there's no spelling errors. I think I can make it. So
there's dry land on the far end.
Yeah, I can see the end. There was no weird racial fetishizing or racism in the book, which was nice. Being queer was normalized in the world of this book.
Yeah, there's absolutely no one bats an eye about anyone's sexual preferences at all, I would say.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of nice. And then something else that I was like, man, I got to really applaud the author for this. There was not only consent, like we were talking about, with the sex scenes, but STI testing. Explicit, hey, I know we're going to fuck, so let's get tested. I was like, oh, this is so nice. I like this. This is so good.
Quite lovely.
Yeah.
A thing I have done before, and it's kind of cool. And, I mean, in a way, a little hot, right? Like, because...
What?
Anything that implies... Listen, Paris. Anything that implies we're going to fuck later, to me, is a turn on.
So, okay, someone's like, hey, check out my negative STI test results. And
You're showing that to me because you want to get it on, right? So, sure.
Okay.
It's the anticipation.
Okay.
You're super weirded out.
It's not weird. I'm just surprised because I guess
it doesn't have to be that anything that, like, you could just send me a text message that, not you personally, but, like, you know, a lot.
Well, according to some of our listeners, they might.
Oh yeah, some YouTube comments got fun with me.
Oh yeah, some idiot on YouTube thought that Chris and I were dating, and we were like, who the fuck? What are you listening to that would make you think that? Anyway.
But what my point being is, like, you could send me a text message that just says, like, hey, you know, bring a condom later. That's enough for me.
I guess different. Huh. Yeah, I guess I've just got a tough exterior, Chris. I don't know. Takes more
all right,
than that.
well, let's move on from this topic because now I'm feeling very vulnerable.
Let's not talk about what we need to get off.
Yeah, I'm feeling very exposed.
All right, so those are all the things I thought were good about it. Let's get into my list of things I didn't like. So some of this is just stuff I didn't like because it's just not for me. So maybe I wouldn't. So for example, I don't like books where romance is the main or a driving force. It's just not for me.
I mean, I kind of liked Love in the Time of Cholera.
I've never read that, but I've heard.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Where romance is sort of the main driving thing, but there's also a whole lot of other stuff in the midst of that as well. But
man, how many knockoffs called Love in the Time of COVID are already out there?
I'm sure it's coming.
Fuck me. Sorry, continue.
I mean, there's legitimately something to be said about, you know, writing books about that. This is going to be an event that is, you know, with us culturally from here on out. So there's going to be some love story. There are love stories out there right now happening in real life Paris about people connecting amidst a pandemic, and there's something there.
Chris, are you telling me this like I'm not a person who that is actually happening to?
I know,
presently?
right? So fucking like. Shut up, stop giving people shit about it.
I'm not giving anyone shit. I'm just making a joke.
I know. I'm teasing.
Yeah, spoiler, listeners, I'm currently living for a few months in Minneapolis because, that's where my boyfriend lives. So
you fell in love in the time of COVID.
I actually did this. God, I have become what I most hated. I'm a monster.
You live long enough, you become a romance novel, Paris.
Yeah, it's pretty surreal. Yeah, I'm a huge hypocrite. Feel free to like chuck me in the trash or something. No, I don't know. I'm not a huge hypocrite.
Yeah, Paris. See, you hate love in books, yet you find love yourself. Curious.
I know. Oh my God, I'm gonna be roasted by Tucker Carlson later.
You denigrate society, yet you participate in it.
No, I don't know, like, I wouldn't want to, okay, cool, like, I'm, you know, super in love and all that, but I don't want to fucking read about it. I wouldn't make someone read about that. I feel uncomfortable just saying that and telling people and being like, yeah, I guess I have, guess the love thing is happening. It's just, I don't know, man, I just don't want to make people think about that.
Fair enough. I'm also not in here. I don't read books for the romance subplots, so I'm also never really picking up any book where that is the main focus.
It's not interesting to me. There's just nothing that... In fact, if I see a book with romance in it, it motivates me to put it down and not read it.
Why do you think that is for us, Paris?
I don't know, but it's why we end up reading so many things like that on the show, because we both hate it. I just don't find it intriguing. To
me, I just think it's because so much art has tried to dedicate itself to like elucidating that whole feeling, like what's really going on here with the human condition of love, man. Like it's the one thing that, and like I've got, that kind of leaves people out that don't experience that as much either.
Yeah,
which is fine. Like there's more. I think it's a little overdone, let's say.
Yeah, I'll agree. I agree with you there. I think that's part of both of our issues is it's overdone, and it, at least in the media we've been exposed to, and kind of the, I don't know, middle class Western world or whatever. It's just everything kind of revolves around a romantic plot or subplot, and it's just.
I don't even think that's a Western world thing, Paris. That's just like human stories.
Yeah, maybe you're right, but I just don't find it. I think maybe I don't find it interesting for the reasons you offered, because it's been so overdone, so that I don't know. There's only so many ways it can end.
Not even that for me, but like I need something intriguing and different to give me a different perspective or see things from a different angle, like Bear. Do you remember Bear?
Oh, Bear is such a bizarre and good book, yeah.
Right, but wasn't that technically a romance book?
No, I don't think it was.
Interesting. I would classify it as such.
I'm not really sure what I would classify that as, but sorry, we're kind of getting going on this thing how we don't like romances in books. I just find it. Yeah, it is. I just find it boring. I'm not really sure how to describe why I find it boring and unmotivating.
We've been describing for the past 2 or 3 minutes.
I don't know. I don't know that I've really given a great answer, but I think maybe just for most of my life, I felt very estranged from that. It just, romance never seemed real or possible. So why care about it? Then again, I mean, you could probably say the same thing about dragons, but
yeah.
But dragons seem way cooler to me. Like, I don't know, man. Like, you give me a romance or a dragon,
man,
and I'm
you're
like,
giving off some real
though.
wearaboo vibes right now, Paris. I don't need love. I'm in my basement.
I need a caribou.
I've got Cowboy Bebop and One Piece.
Oh, man. Yeah,
my waifus.
I think that's part of it, is that romance never seemed like something that was for me. So I didn't have any interest in it. The same... this is a great segue. The same way that books with gay sex have no appeal to me because I do not have gay sex. So, like, I don't know. I'm just not interested in reading about sex at all. And then when it's sex that I can't even...
that is...
Well, I'm saying... No, I'm saying, yeah, I don't like sex at all. But then when it's like sex I'm never going to have, it's like even less interesting. You know, I'm not a man fucking another man, so whatever.
I mean, you go to books to see things from other people's perspectives. And like, you know, what's it like to have a werewolf dick and have sex with another man? Maybe there's something to, like, even though you're not going to have that experience, you could perhaps glean something from it.
I don't care. I've never liked books with sex. I've just never liked graphic sex in books. Like, I've always just liked a little suggestion and then a nice fade to black, and then we move on to a real plot point. But in a romance book, I understand how the sex is part of it and how people come to these books for that. But I just don't come to books to come. And I know a lot of people do. It's just not me. I don't know, man. Words just don't... Reading words on a page by myself just doesn't get me going. And that's just not... It's just not for me for that reason. I know you feel differently, so...
Just not for you.
Yeah, so third, I don't like rich people or fancy brands and the culture of wealth and high society. All of that stuff is super distasteful to me because I think for similar reasons, I've never been wealthy. I don't see value in fancy branded shit. This is like when we read that fucking shitty... what was that book Victoria recommended? Veronica recommended? Not Victoria. The book Veronica recommended like last year or the year before. We read. It was like, I thought about slitting his throat with these fancy knives we were buying for our wedding. I'm so edgy. Remember That one. It just kept name dropping brands, and we were talking about how that just estranged us from the text even further because both of us don't give a shit.
Vague memory of this.
Oh, fuck, what was it called? It was about a woman that got gang raped in high
Luckiest
school.
Girl Alive.
Yes, thank you. Fuck, I couldn't remember that for the
Crazy that's what triggered the title in my head.
Yeah, well, it was a memorable moment in the book, but in that book as well, we had this whole like fetishization of wealth and high society, richness and being better than other people and having access to all the exclusive shit. And I just don't fucking care about any of that. And I honestly I don't like people who do. So it made it really hard for me to care about these characters because I just saw
the fancy soaps and cool condos and like
rich corporate executives having sex in their literal like ivory tower. Oh god.
No thanks. I mean, like I would much rather read your like werewolf porn book if it was about like fucking trashy alley werewolves that like, you know, they're out in the back after the thrash metal show trying to get a little heat going or something behind the dumpster. I don't know.
Yeah.
At least there's a struggle there.
Yeah, I think that this would be a lot more interesting if the characters were more relatable to more people. I don't know. I mean, maybe this is just written for people who are into... I don't know. Is rich people stuff a fetish? Is that a thing?
I don't know if it's a fetish so much. I think, honestly, it's here so that you don't have to worry about the characters having enough resources to live, and it can be purely focused on the romance angle.
Oh, you know what? That's a fair point. I just am not into it. So, okay, so these first three things, I don't like romance books. I don't like sex in books, especially sex I'm not having, like male-on-male gay sex. And I don't like rich people, fancy brands, high society stuff. Those are all just taste things about me as a person, as a reader, and I understand that. So, you know, if you are into those things, like if you're into gay sex and books and you want to get off, like this book is probably for you. But it's those reasons make it not for me. You know, if you're into rich people, cool, it's for you. If you're into romance, cool, it's for you. This next thing,
dog dicks, cool.
The next two things, though, especially the next one, I have a real problem with these whole like rigid biological roles. That whole thing makes me feel real gross.
So confusing for me in a world where it's explicitly made that like queer relationships are totally normal and no one bats an eye, that you have, it seems such like a rigid idea of who is supposed to, I mean, it's not like there's definitely like beta relationships and stuff like that. So it's not like illegal or unheard of to have things like that happening. And even a central point of Malcolm's character is that, oh, he's an omega, but he's not totally, you know, submissive, or Vincent's an alpha, but he's not a total meathead. So there's like some gradient here, but it still seems extremely rigid in like the biology of it being like, oh, the heat happens and you have to act this way.
Oh, I fucking hate that shit. Like, the whole men, I guess, and women in this universe going through heats. It just, I don't know. I don't like it at all. To me, it's just creepy. The whole thing is creepy. Whenever any sort of media is like, well, I've designed characters specifically to be totally submissive or totally dominant, I'm just not into that. It just, to me, like writing away someone's agency with some fucking flimsy biological rewrite is just, I don't know. I find it creepy and weird. I know some people are, I guess, into rigid, hierarchical roles, but to me it just seems gross. Like, we already live in a world that's fucked up and has a bunch of weird, complicated, interlacing hierarchies. Why do you need to write a book and add another layer on top of that makes it even shittier? Like, I just don't...
That's what confused me again, because it seems to be like, oh, there's so many things that aren't as big of a deal in this world, but then you're just adding a new thing to be very, bifurcated with, not even like trifurcated, I guess, in this case. But it... And again, I don't want to say that this book is super strict about it because, again, you know, Malcolm has a moment where he stands up for himself and Vincent isn't just a meathead alpha. But at the same time, they're always compelled literally by chemicals in their brain to act a certain way. And they admit, like, oh, this is like, I have to act a certain way. It's these chemicals. And they do fight against it and they're not totally beholden to it. But I just don't like that terminology as if...
Well, I think I also...
I'll let you go.
Sorry. I think I also don't like that their sex is always governed by that. Like, the alpha, Vincent, is always, like, on top, in control. And Malcolm is always spreading his legs, literally. It's like, there's always a line about how he's spreading his legs and being submissive. And I guess, you know, if you're coming here for that, that's what you're here for. But thinking about it in a larger, you know, world, it just... It only further entrenches the whole biological coding thing, which I just find kind of distasteful. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really love that part either. I'm trying to walk this line where I'm trying to give it some credit for the fact that it isn't 100% rigid, but it really isn't that much of that there. And every time the endo type stuff gets brought up, I just get totally taken out of whatever little bit of relation I had to this. And I'm also, a little bit, I don't want to say creeped out, but just icked out, squicked out.
Yeah, it makes me, something that made me feel really gross was when everyone found out that Malcolm was an Omega and all the alphas started leaving him gifts and sending him flowers and trying to get him alone. And it was like, oh, this is totally normal. This is just what happens. And I was like, this is fucking creepy. I don't like this at all.
Yeah, there's even that line in the summary on the back of the book where it says, oh, and Malcolm wouldn't be able to do anything about it.
Yeah. I think this is just all based on, like, power kink stuff. And I don't know. I guess, again, if you're coming to this just as jerk-off material or whatever, but... I don't know. I just think that you can... Okay, so here, my biggest question with this whole alpha, beta, omega shit is like, why does it need to be there? You can still have a dominance thing, like, you know, if like dominance and submission is your kink or whatever, we have that in the real world. I don't understand why we need to turn it into this forced biological thing on everyone. Why?
Yeah, that's also the disconnect for me.
I don't get it.
As well. Really not trying to yuck anyone's yum here.
Yeah, I know. I don't want to. Yeah, exactly. I don't want to sound like
Don't be made to feel as if you're gross or weird for being into this, please. It's more that's where it breaks down for me. Whereas, why do you have to have it defined in such a way? Why can't it just be two gay corporate executives, one's submissive, one's more dominant?
Yeah,
you can even have the smell stuff in there if you want, just as like different types of cologne, and you know, one of them, whenever he smells a certain thing, he gets that submissive feel. I don't know.
Yeah, the smelling stuff seems like kind of normal human shit. I know that in the books their sense of smell is enhanced because, you know, in this alternate reality, people's senses of smell are like dogs or cats or something. But I don't know. Like, if I smell stuff my boyfriend smells like, yeah, it makes me feel better or calmer or whatever, or reminds me of him. I don't think it's that stuff. It doesn't seem as much of a stretch as some of the other things, like the butt pussies and all that they imply, which brings me to my final point. All right, guys, I'm sorry, but I just can't. This is the thing that really just fucking ruined this whole thing for me. So, why? I just have so many questions. So, all right. So if it hasn't been clear... Oh, okay. Actually, I have a question. Do women also have butt pussies?
I don't know. I think that's
we don't know.
That's, you know, I from what I understand, the way the biology stuff works is different from book to book, author to author in this particular, you know, subset genre here, you could say. So it really depends on what particular series or author you're talking about here. In this one, the women are, they're around, and we are made to know that there are alpha, beta, omega women as well. And I'm fairly sure, based on Vincent's family structure, where there is 2 women, that they can also procreate in a similar fashion.
So so we never really discovered if the women have penises. Or if there's some other impregnation method.
Yeah, that's really not covered at all, and we're left to the imagination. And, let's be clear here for a second. You could have a woman with a penis and a man with a womb in the real world because of trans stuff.
Right,
so
sure.
It's not like a literal impossibility.
Yes, but again, this book is not... I did not get the sense that that's what this book was talking about at all.
Exactly.
Which is... So actually that's a good point. Let's bring that up right now. We're not denigrating trans people. This isn't about trans people. This is about this particular alternate biology world, where men have butt pussies, and I just don't love it. I think
it's explicit that Malcolm has a dick and some kind of butt womb.
Okay, and I say butt pussy because it is not just an anus. It is there's self-lubrication. And
yes.
I have to wonder, is there poop in there? How does this work? And I know that's like an immediate like childish giggle point, but I couldn't stop thinking, like, I started building diagrams in my mind of how this must work.
I thought you had the chalkboard out and shit.
I was like, okay, so all right, so no, because I was trying to salvage
Paris
it. I was like,
math,
all right,
but this time
Paris does biological math. So like, okay, because you know how in your throat you're getting an epiglottis and that opens or closes depending on if you need to breathe or swallow water. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's like that. Maybe there's an ass pussy, but like the colon has an epiglottis and it knows whether it's getting fucked or whether you have to shit, and then it's fine, right?
Sure.
Does that work?
I mean, yeah. I mean,
I was just desperately okay. But then the men getting pregnant thing. So men can get pregnant. There is a male character who is pregnant in this book. But weirdly, they didn't mention that the character had developed breasts, and you would think that if a mammal is pregnant, it would also be developing milk in its mammary glands to nurse the infant. But that wasn't mentioned, so that was confusing. And I don't really understand how in this world, like, I don't know, because the only species I can think of where the male carries the young are seahorses, but they're not mammals, you know? We're talking about regular humans. How would that work biologically?
Paris, I don't know about regular humans.
Well, yeah. But regular humans with wolf stuff, but wolves don't have butt pussies. Like, male wolves don't carry their young, so I don't understand how all of this shit got mashed together into one fandom. Very confusing. I couldn't get. Yeah, I just whenever, kind of like what you were saying, whenever the scenting endotyping shit was brought up, it totally broke me from getting into the book. Same with this. Like whenever he's like, sorry, I was gonna get really graphic, but at the end, there's a final sex scene when Vincent and Malcolm are finally together, and he's like eating out his butt pussy, and I was like, I can't. This is just absurd. I can't get into this.
I mean, you know, that's kind of the thing with this book is like there's a completely normal and well done romance in here, but with this bizarre layer on it. It's like if you had like a chocolate cake, but the chocolate was some kind of like alien goo from the fucking unknown.
Yeah.
And I guess it tastes fine to some people.
But then
but
for
the rest
other
of us
people,
are like we see just like the writhing tentacles underneath, and we're like,
Yeah, I was gonna say for some people it melts our mouths. Yeah. So my big question is like, why is this the thing? Why can't, I mean, again, to go back to the crass scene I talked about, Why can't it just be a man eating another man's ass? Why can't they just be fucking asses? That's a thing that people do. And again, I'm not even into that. It's actually a thing I do not like at all, but it's at least a thing that can happen in the world. Why do you need to make the ass also a pussy?
So that men can have biological children with each other?
Yeah, but then we never solved the issue of lesbians.
I think
How do they have biological children?
You know, I did a little bit of light research on this, and I think in other, I don't know about this one, but like the women can grow a penis.
Oh, fuck me. Fuck off. I can't.
I mean, that's not that new of a concept, to be honest with you, so.
I mean, hyenas have false penises, female
sure,
hyenas. But
I'm just talking in like hentai terms, Paris.
Oh, well, you would know. I have no idea, but, yeah, and again, it's just, this is another conversation where it's just not for us, you know? I can't really wrap my mind around why anyone would need
Readers,
this version.
if you have an explanation for butt pussies, please. Maybe email us about, like, I don't know. I guess I would like to know what the idea is supposed to be here, if there is a butt pussy lore out there.
Well, I think the other thing I don't like about it is that I think I don't like the idea that you can't just have men having sex with men or women having sex with women without this forced heteronormativity.
Is it heteronormative? It's more like...
It is, right? Because if you have to make the ass a pussy and if you have to make the lesbian grow a penis... Like, that's fucking weird. That's what bothers me the most about it, is that you're still enforcing these...
It's the procreative angle that, like, makes it weird.
Yeah, you're still enforcing these kind of... You're enforcing heteronormative genitalia on homosexual couples, and how is that not fucked up?
I mean,
there it is. I finally came to the reason that I hate this so much.
Sure,
I found it.
But in the end, no matter what, like, you need a sperm cell and a egg cell to conceive. Well, not even, right? We don't even need that anymore. There's totally like. Oh, I don't know where I'm going with this, Paris.
So wait, so you're saying the importance of. Okay, I think I get where you're going. So you're saying that to this subculture, fandom, whatever we want to call it, the importance of gay couples being able to conceive their own children supersedes the need to leave their genitals alone.
I guess.
Like there's greater value in them being able to have kids in the fantasy of two of homosexual couples, you know, male, female, whatever. Being able to reproduce and less value in the genitals. Maybe. I don't know. I think this is also hard for us because we're both straight.
Yeah.
We're both cisgender straight people. So I'm not going to say that we have maybe the best opinions on this, but, you know, we're talking about our perspectives of reading this book.
Yeah, I'm really not trying to say whether anything is right or the best way to go about this.
No.
It's just us trying to grapple with, like, well, what's the best way? What is the best way to go about this? And we don't exactly have the greatest toehold in these communities to know what feels good to those types of people. Where I was trying to go at it is, like, you know, in biology, you need sperm cell, egg cell to make a new thing.
Yeah, and I mean, you can deliver the sperm and egg however you want, right? Like,
yeah,
doesn't like the delivery method is how we get the genitals that we have, right?
Exactly.
Like,
so, like, that's really what it comes down to, is just the penis part is the sperm deliverer.
But why can't we just be like fish, you know? Just dropping the sperm off and then you just come pick it up?
Sure, know. You know what? That's fine with me. Like, if... I don't know. Paris, why are we...
Oh, yeah.
It's 7:15 on a Saturday night, and I'm talking about butt pussy.
Yeah, and again, I don't know. And it sucks because I don't want people to think that we're sitting here being mad about genitalia.
I'm not mad about it. No, I'm just trying to understand.
Yeah, exactly.
I honestly would like to hear a better explanation, perhaps.
Yeah, I would just love to try to understand why this is
Sure. You know?
Yeah,
I
why
mean, the
this
last 10
is-
minutes of this has just been like two fucking cis-het people trying to grapple with a presumably pretty queer fandom. So,
yeah.
you know, please don't take any of our opinions as having any sort of weight here. You're just listening to us try to make sense of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the show is. It's two friends who read the same book trying to understand what they read. But again, if we're just talking about a book, it does the things a book should do.
Uh-huh.
And if you're talking about a romance or an erotic book, it does the things those should do. I didn't like the particular flavor. I don't like graphic sex or romance. I'm not into rich people, not interested in reading about, you know, gay relationships. So it's like, for me, it's not for me. But I think if you are into those things, this book is for you. So
yeah, I would not call this a terrible book, Paris. It has a right to exist.
Yeah, I guess I'll.
There's
agree
no
with you there.
reason it should not exist.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I don't think. It's just hard for me because I just worry about the whole hierarchy thing and just how creepy that is.
Yeah, that's the only part where
and the
gives me
whole
pause.
and how I just keep thinking about how, like, the genitalia thing, about how I just worry that it's like enforcing.
Let's
Anyway.
let our queer listeners talk to us about that part, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I could, again, I'm probably totally off on this. It just gave me an icky feeling for those reasons. I guess I just didn't like a world. And again, it's not that I have a problem with people who are into, like, you know, any kind of dom sub stuff. It's just that where there is a world where that is expected and everyone has to go along with it, it's just kind of
Yeah, I don't love it.
weird to me. I think you should be able to make those choices, you know, and I don't know, again, but I guess if you're into that, of course you want a world where that's the deal, right?
Yeah. All right, Paris. Well, I don't even think I would necessarily want to fix this because of that.
Oh, wait, one more thing. I didn't like that there was no real conflict in this book.
Yeah. I mean, the conflict
It was
is-
obvious that they were in love and were going to end up together, especially since in the description it says, and HEA, which is a happily ever after. So, like, you know how it's going to end. I mean, again, I guess if you're coming to this for jerk off material, it doesn't matter if
it's
it ends
the
happily
journey
or
that
not.
counts, Paris.
It's
How
the
did they get
jerkin'
to
journey. It's the jerkin' journey that counts.
But yeah, so anyway, in terms of fixing it, I don't think there's much to fix here. If you really wanted to remove the, like, endotype stuff, I mean, it could probably survive pretty decently without that, except you'd have to come up with another reason for Malcolm to go to Vincent and be like, hey, you have to fuck me this weekend for, like, protective reasons.
Oh, what if it was like, I'll fire you unless you fuck me?
Well, that's gross and coercive.
Yeah,
and
it
not
is.
kind of like almost sweet in the way it was here.
I don't know if it was sweet.
Almost.
I don't really like yeah, I just can't get on board with this world where, like, when you go into heat, you just want to fuck everything that moves and you're terrified of everyone who isn't your alpha and you go into, like, this animalistic state. I just...
Yeah. What
again,
other possible
okay.
justification could you have for the you gotta fuck me this weekend?
Yeah, I don't know. What
There's
would...
a bomb in my asshole and you have to press the
my
button
God.
every 2 minutes with
It's
your dick.
speed! Dick style! You can't stop fucking me for this whole weekend and we're gonna blow up! No!
Kaboom!
We gotta save the company with a fuck marathon. If we don't do this and tape it, the company
My
will...
worst enemy has implanted a bomb inside my butt, and only my vice president has a dick big enough to poke the button.
Yep, that is... I think you're right.
That's,
we didn't-
okay, I've solved it.
We didn't even talk about the nodding thing. God. So part of this whole fucking wolf stuff is that when they have sex, when the alpha or whoever's doing the fucking, they have a bulbous thing at the base of their dick, which expands and forces them to be stuck inside of their partner for a number of minutes.
You know, like dogs.
Yeah.
You ever seen some dogs go at it? That's what happens.
I mean, obviously, like the biological functionality of that is to make sure the sperm doesn't leak out because, you know, if you're having sex, you want to have a baby, or so says biology. Obviously, I'm not saying that that's true, but obviously people have sex just because it's fun and feels good. But other species, you know, have that failsafe for procreation. And for some reason, the people in this fucking subculture thought that needed to be there. And I just don't know. I guess people are into being stuck to one another after they finish. To me, that sounds kind of bad. I don't know. That just sounds like I need to pee.
Yeah,
like
we're kind of sweaty. I'm into the cuddles, but let's like get a towel first.
Yeah, dude, I just gotta pee. Like, I can't. Being stuck to someone for 15 minutes would just not work for me. Like,
all right, Paris, how would you fix this then?
I guess this is hard for me because I would fix this by ignoring this whole subgenre entirely because it's just not for me. No aspect of this book is for me. So it's sort of unfair in a way for me to say that it's a terrible book, right? Because it's just not a me thing.
Yeah, that's why I'm not going to say it wasn't terrible at all. If this checks some boxes for you, it's probably pretty great. Yeah,
like if you want to read, I guess I think I would be more on board if 2 things were changed, or 3 things, sorry. So 1, if it wasn't about like 2 white wealthy businessmen, if it was about people who are more approachable for me, perhaps that would be better. If their relationship wasn't based on like catty back and forths in the office, I would also be a little more on board because I just don't like that whole dynamic of like, we're going to be catty at each other and rude, but we really love each other. Like I don't, that kind of shit just doesn't work for me.
Tsundere fiction for Paris, noted.
Sure, I don't know what that means, but sure. So I don't like one thing I don't like about romance books that's really common is this whole idea of like, we're enemies, but really we're true loves. I just don't like the whole catty fighting that happens in a lot of their conversations. I don't like that they're 2 white wealthy businessmen. And I obviously am not into the twists on biology, shall we say. So yeah, I think if you made this about characters that were more relatable to kind of a regular person, and their relationship and attraction was less based on office sparring, and if there weren't butt pussies, I would be more on board. But again, you can't get me totally on board with this. There's no way to get me totally on board with this because none of it is for me.
We should be trying to sell this to the Paris audience anyway.
Yeah, it's not.
All right then, Paris. I think that's it.
I guess. D, I don't know why the fuck you made us read this.
I think so. This was technically an Antiques Freaks co-pick. I think they just wanted us to like peek our heads into this bizarre fandom and see how we reacted.
Maybe. I mean, I generally don't do any research before we read these unless I feel it's necessary. The only thing I did do some exploring about was there was like a lawsuit about people that wrote in this this subculture fan fiction or whatever.
There was an author that tried to like copyright the whole idea.
Mm-hmm.
Is the long and short of it.
Yeah, there was an author that was suing another author and they were trying to say that they had copied their plot points, and it's like, well, it's a fucking romance book. It's going to have the same fucking plot points. Like, it was just a really weird, I don't understand where this subculture, this fan fiction culture or whatever came from.
An episode of Supernatural.
Yeah, that I don't understand what does Supernatural have to do with any of this?
There was a werewolf episode.
Okay, but there's been werewolf episodes on a lot of shows. Why would... but there aren't werewolves, but this isn't werewolves. This is like people with...
Yeah, I think it was just a lot of right place, right time things, Paris.
Oh my God, I just don't even understand. Because I have a friend from work who's really into the Supernatural show. I've never actually watched it. It's not really my bag. But I asked her, I was like, hey, have you ever heard of this fan fiction subculture, this like omegaverse stuff? She was like, no. I was like, oh, weird, because apparently it came from Supernatural. And she was like, I explained it to her, and she was like, I have no idea how that could have come from the show. And I was like, yeah, I don't know either. So this only further confused me. So clearly I need to go read a treatise on this or something. This book really wore me down because I was so bored by it.
I know.
Like you said, it took us like 3 weeks to get through it, and now we're like behind schedule because it was just so boring. Oh,
right,
I don't
speaking
know.
of being behind schedule, Paris.
Yeah, I feel so sorry. Actually, Morgan Hawes, you know, I gotta say, you can write a romance book. I just hate romance books.
Yeah. So
like, you know, I'm just not into the twisted biology or romance in general. So I'm a bad reader. Woof. Yeah. So this isn't, again, one of those times where if you're like, would you recommend that? You know, if somebody was like, hey, recommend me a book, I wouldn't say, please read Late Bloomer by Morgan Hawes. But if someone said, hey, I'm looking for a gay romance, I'd say, well, try this out then.
Sure. You'd have to probably have a lot of like upfront. So there's some stuff here before you dive in.
Yeah, you know, I don't know.
All right. How about we thank them patrons, Paris?
Oh, yeah, we got those. Sorry.
Did you just like get a huge whiff of patron dust in your lungs and you had to
Yeah, I opened the patron book, you know, where we have everyone write their name in blood. Yeah, you know, it's like the Patronomicon.
Yeah.
Ahem. From the pages of the Patronomicon, I would like to thank Dari, Greg, Will, Veronica, Dee, Lynn, Xenia, Yakub, Bobby Black Cat, Johnsina, Mayo Cat, Elliot, Kieran, Martin, and Jay. If you too want to help support the show, you can donate.
It's October, Paris. This is fun.
I don't know what I'm doing. You can donate $1, $5, $10 a month to us on Patreon for various rewards, such as forcing us to read books like this. Or you can also now go to Ko-fi or Ko-fi, KOFI.com, find us on there, and you can just donate a single $1 or a single $2 or a single $20. You don't have to subscribe monthly, so you can just throw us tips on Ko-fi if you want. You can also subscribe or follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, or Goodreads. You can share the show and tell people about it. And lastly, you can rate and review the show on iTunes, Podbean, Podchaser, or whatever pod platform you choose. If you do want to contact us and explain butt pussies to us, please send emails to terriblebookclub@gmail.com. You can message us on Goodreads, Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. I don't know if we have any other announcements other than we are doing yet another Patron's Choice book next time.
We should say whose choice we're doing, and maybe he'll get excited about it for that reason.
Oh, yeah. So we are reading Will's choice of book for the next episode.
Thanks for getting your request in, Will.
Yeah. I think we actually have several patrons that could request something still if they want.
Time's running out.
Time is running out for this season, so if you...
Maybe you get them in early for next year.
Yeah, you could also get them in early for 2021. I mean, I'm hoping that Chris and I are going to do a bunch of pre-records so we can take a nice break like we do every year in the winter. All
right, then. Well, if business is concluded, I'll see you later, Paris.
Goodbye.